I want to finish up this unit with talking about elaborating more and more on what we call cost and revenue. Our total cost, as I said earlier, was the total amount of all of our inputs, our land, labor, capital, intermediate inputs, and business know-how. We have a term, and it shouldn't create that much of a problem because we already talked about the term marginal. Marginal means extra, it means the change in. So therefore we have what is called marginal cost, which means what is our change in our total cost given a change in quantity. An example of this would be, let's assume in 2011 you take one course and that costs you $1,000. In 2012 you take one course and now that course costs you $1,100. So the change in cost, the marginal cost, the extra cost to take a class in 2012 would be $1,000. And if we take our mathematical formula, the change in total cost divided by our change in quantity was our change is $1,000 for the new cost minus the old cost is $1,000 divided by one course. So therefore, our marginal cost, the extra cost to take that extra course in 2012 was $1,000. Now, all of these resources, land, labor, capital, intermediate inputs, and business know-how, can be categorized in and of themselves in one of two costs, either what we call a fixed cost or a variable cost. Fixed costs are those costs that do not change with production. Another way of putting it, it is those costs that have to be paid whether I produce anything or not. If I open up a hamburger stand, well, I have to pay for my equipment. That I have to pay for whether I produce any hamburgers or not. If I'm closed on Sunday, I still have to pay for my grill. I still have to pay for my refrigerator. I still have to pay for my tables. I have to pay for my insurance. I have to pay my rent. Even if I don't produce on Sunday, I still owe my landlord rent. And therefore, these are what we call fixed costs because they do not change with production. If I don't produce anything, I have to pay $1,000 in rent. If I produce 1,000 hamburgers, I still only have to pay $1,000 in rent. So therefore, these are costs that are not predicated, that are not determined, that are not associated with production. Then I have my variable costs, such as labor. Perhaps some of my intermediate inputs, like the amount of flour that I need to make my bread or what have you. These costs are those costs that change directly with production. In other words, if I expect business to be more tomorrow, today I sold 100 hamburgers to 100 people. Tomorrow I expect that it's going to be 110 hamburgers to 110 people. I need 10 more hamburgers. I need 10 more buns. I might need to work my labor a little bit more. Instead of working them 6 hours a day, I might need to work them 7 hours a day. So these are costs that change with production. As my production goes up, these costs go up because I have to add them. If production goes down, then I don't have to buy as many hamburgers or I don't have to use as much labor. And finally, if I add these two up, it also gives me total cost. And the reason for that is a simple reason that total cost is equal to all of my inputs, and the inputs can be categorized in any one of these two costs, fixed or variable, and that gives me my total cost. We already talked about revenue being price times quantity. But now we have marginal revenue. This should not be any different any more challenging than any of the other marginal that we talked about. Marginal revenue is simply the change in total revenue. That's all it is. Thursday you go out, you cut lawns and you make $20 cutting lawns. On Friday you go out and the total amount of money you bring in from cutting lawns is $25. So your marginal revenue, the extra revenue that you made Friday, the extra revenue, the change in your total revenue Friday versus Thursday would be $5. That's all marginal is. It's just the change. The new minus the old, my new revenue minus my old revenue, my new cost minus my old cost, my new product minus my old product. That's all marginal is. Sometimes that can be a very challenging topic. But if we put them in terms of just the idea of change, what is the extra amount that I made? I think you'll get it. Again, if you have any questions, put them on discussion board, email me. In addition to putting them on discussion board, email me. I will address you personally, put the answer on there, and I ask your fellow classmates to do that. Thank you very much. Have a great day.